From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South. I'm Jose Daniel Lopez. On Sunday, Pope Francis is to give sainthood to the late Salvadoran Archbishop Oscar Romero. Romero was killed in 1980 by the death squad as he delivered Mass. The Archbishop was an outspoken critic of the country's military dictatorship and its many human rights abuses. He was well respected for his commitment to the poor and for defending the rights of campesinos. Pilgrims from around the world are expected to gather in St. Peter's Square in the Vatican to witness the ceremony. Our correspondent in San Salvador, Ernesto Ábalos, brings us more.
Joy has taken hold of El Salvador hours ahead of the canonization of Archbishop Romero. Celebrations are well underway across the country, particularly in Ciudad Barrios, where Romero was born in 1917. A remembrance ceremony is also taking place at the Divine Providence Church, where he was killed in 1980 by a sniper. The main gathering is outside the Metropolitan Cathedral of San Salvador, where a Mass is to be held at 8 p.m. local time. On Sunday morning, at 2 a.m. local time, a screen outside the cathedral will go live to the Vatican for the ceremony. Afterwards, people will be able to enter his tomb to pay their respects to the new saint.
But people in El Salvador are demanding a full investigation into the death of the late Archbishop. Under the motto, "No saint without justice," people gather to ask that those responsible for his death be brought to justice. Romero was assassinated in 1980 while delivering Mass. No one has ever been convicted for this crime.
We are writing a letter to the court asking for several things. First of all, that they ask Interpol for an arrest warrant and an extradition order for Captain Alvaro Saravia, who is a key person in Romero's murder. Having him in the country would help us obtain lots of evidence of who is responsible for Romero's death, who was involved in it, and who financed it. As we know, these were the death squads.
Let's move on to Argentina, where social leader Milagros Sala has been held in detention for over 1,000 days. On Friday, social organizations protested in Buenos Aires to demand her release. Sala has said she laments her arrest and that authorities have used her case to do the same to others. In an exclusive interview, Telesur spoke with the Argentine social leader. Let's listen to some of what she had to say.
These people in power, Macri and his gang, the truth is that they are a gang of delinquents, a group of businessmen and their families that are getting rich at the expense of those who have less. It took them 2 years. In 2 years and 10 months, they have destroyed our country, they have put us in debt, they have backtracked advances in education and health. Everything has receded. It is astounding how they have hurt our country and how they have destroyed it. The country is no longer ruled by those who cast their vote. Great powers such as the International Monetary Fund and neoliberal interests are now in charge of our country. They want to take out the Argentine flag and they want to raise a colonizing flag.
The 33rd Annual National Women's Summit in Argentina has started. The summit was started in 1986 to address the issues women face in society. Each year since then, thousands of women gather to promote reproductive health programs, legislation against gender violence, and the elimination of all kinds of discrimination based on gender, and the right to have safe and free abortions. We're now joined over the phone by journalist Susana Gonzalez in Argentina to talk about the summit. Hello, Susana. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, how are you?
Can you briefly explain when and how these conferences started, and what do they mean for the feminist movement in Argentina and Latin America?
Yeah, as you said, this all began in 1996 with a few feminists who had seen the need of women, of Argentinian women, to join together in this event. This event is, today we are at the 33rd National Encounter of Women, and we are here over 70,000 women who are going to stay 3 days from now. We have been doing some talks already, and we are planning on doing several activities during these 3 days.
Okay, And what kind of topics and activities are on the agenda for this year's edition?
Yeah, every year what we do is first an opening that is organized by the committee which organized this, and then there is these 75 topics that we have to select during these 3 days. We attend to different workshops, right? We have different topics and different themes we can speak about. As you said, you mentioned women and sexuality, for example. There are workshops about women and global crisis, Afro-descendant women. All these topics are available to be selected for us. We have to choose between one of them and attend 3 times during these 3 days to the same group where we speak about these different issues.
Now, one last question, Susana. What are the next actions in the struggle for safe abortions after the Senate killed the legal abortion bill earlier this year?
Well, this is the 3rd year that the march, this event is closed by a march, and this march is going to have this letter of abortion, the need to legalize abortion as a speech that we all carry. These 70,000 women are going to take this as the word that we are going to show to the media. This, as you must know, mass media doesn't speak about this. What you are showing now is something that it's not going to be tomorrow at Argentinian newspapers. This is something that is only covered by local media, and as we are completely invisible to the mass media.
Well, thank you so much, Susana, for being with us today and sharing all this information. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this.
We are present at every event where our nations are staring. We believe in a new global vision, united in every broadcasting. We keep expanding our horizons and working on a closer and better communication. Now, in Grenada, Telesur, the news source from South America and the Caribbean.
Our actions have an impact on the environment. It's our responsibility to change for the sake of our planet. Let's be part of this transition. Watch, preserve, and protect your Green Zone. Wednesdays, only on Telesur.
Telesur Documentaries presents an emblematic voyage.
Cuando llegó acá era Ernesto, que era de la Serra.
The journey when Ernesto became Che. Sunday, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. Public university students in Colombia are expecting Congress to approve the national budget. If it's not approved, they have threatened to start an indefinite strike. The students have said they will stop going to class until more resources for public universities are guaranteed. They say that the government's proposal for this year's budget is unclear. They want new policies that benefit public institutions. Hundreds of Hondurans are walking north with the intention of crossing into the United States. About 500 citizens have decided to walk through Guatemala and Mexico in search of the so-called American dream. They talk about a lack of job opportunities in their country, as well as widespread violence and high poverty rates.
We can't achieve anything here. If we start any business, days later we start being extorted by gangs. And on top of that, we must pay the government. It's so unsafe in Honduras that it's not even worth trying to succeed. If you want to fight for something, they'll just take it away from you. So we decided to leave because we need to find work and we don't believe the government has any intention of helping.
A shopping mall in Mexico collapsed on Friday, killing 7 people. According to authorities, another 9 people are missing and 15 are injured. All the victims are believed to be construction workers. Brazilian presidential candidate Fernando Haddad has defended the country's Catholic Church against attacks by supporters of far-right candidate Jair Bolsonaro. Haddad said it is time people remember the Catholic ideals of protecting life, preserving democracy, and fighting against violence. He also rejected violent acts by right-wing supporters in the last few days.
A Bolsonaro supporter started to insult the Catholic Church. He insulted the Catholic Church by calling it communist church, gay church, and other things without any sense. He followed us and tried to get into the convoy in high speed and trying to stop our vehicles. He arrived to the hotel and again he insulted the Catholic Church. Later he was contained. The security team did not fall into provocations. Everybody had an excellent behavior and he gave up with the provocations.
97 Venezuelan migrants who were living in Ecuador were repatriated under the Return to the Homeland Plan. This is the 6th flight to leave Ecuador under the initiative implemented by the government of President Nicolás Maduro.
Grisely Sanchez arrived in Ecuador several months ago, hoping to improve her living conditions. However, she says her stay was not pleasant, as it was very difficult to find a job related to her profession.
I am a biology and chemistry teacher, and to work I need a visa. For that I had to raise money, but I only had 3 months to do it. I had to support myself, and for that I look for work in other areas.
Grisely, along with others, boarded the 6th flight returning to Venezuela from Ecuador. Before continuing their journey to the airport, the group stopped at the Metropolitan Cathedral to pay tribute to the mausoleum of Marshal Antonio José de Sucre. Authorities from the Venezuelan embassy joining.
I miss my country a lot. It's not easy to be far away. After a while, you feel like your country is calling you back.
97 Venezuelan citizens are returning home, to their families, to their country.
It was very difficult trying to remain in Ecuador. There is no work for Venezuelans here because we are discriminated.
I came here looking for a better life, but I realized that there is nothing like Venezuela.
Around 600 Venezuelans have returned home from Ecuador under the Return to Homeland Plan. Venezuelan authorities have confirmed more flights will leave in the coming days. Denise Herrera, Telesur, Quito.
And the Venezuelan Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza has condemned what he calls the ongoing economic attacks against the people of Venezuela. In an official statement released on Saturday, Arreaza said the Venezuelan government condemns the unusual meeting in which the finance ministers of a group of countries participated under the direction of the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States in order to increase the economic attacks against the people of Venezuela. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness has confirmed that his government is achieving economic growth and sustainability. According to Holness, interest rates continue to decrease while employment is increasing. He added that by the end of the year, debt to gross domestic product will fall below 100%. The 13th International Indigenous Film Festival in Guatemala is showcasing films that reflect the hopes and struggles of communities.
Students from rural areas performed a song of their own writing during the award ceremony of the International Indigenous Film Festival.
This is about rewarding and acknowledging outstanding indigenous filmmakers throughout Latin America and the world.
We reward works that expose the people's realities, the genuine, real struggles from those communities.
The films awarded during the festival are being showcased all across Guatemala until October 16th.
This is the biggest platform of its kind in the continent, not only for films, but for other audiovisual products too.
Over 300 films were registered in the festival. They all have two things in common. They are hopeful for the future, but also show great concern over the damage done to planet Earth.
Among other things, we showcase how our communal economy works. Through audiovisual media, we can make the fight for our rights visible.
On a general level, there is great concern about Mother Earth and the growth of extractivist corporations.
Members from the Indigenous Latin American Field Coordination, or CLACPI, announced that the next edition of the festival will take place in Ecuador.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this.
Telesur Documentaries presents an emblematic voyage.
Cuando llegó acá era Ernesto, que ahora es la Serra.
The journey when Ernesto became Che. Sunday, only on Telesur.
We are always there tracking the news. We seek equality. We defend the truth. It's a hard job, but we are not alone. We count on a new ally.
Welcome back. Palestinians in the Gaza Strip continue to protest against the brutality of the Israeli government. Thousands of Palestinians marched to take a stand on Friday, but they were once again met with violence by Israeli troops. Our correspondent in the Middle East, Nayara Tardo, brings us more.
En efecto, en las marchas de este viernes,
on Friday, about 14,000 Palestinians took part in protests in the Gaza Strip. According to Gaza's health ministry, live rounds were used by Israeli forces to suppress the protests. Most of the wounded were treated by medical workers in the Strip, while the worst hit were transferred to nearby hospitals. The protests were to demand the end of the Israeli blockade that has lasted for over 12 years and has created a humanitarian crisis. Since March of this year, when the Great March of Return started, over 200 Palestinians have lost their lives, with thousands more left injured at the hands of Israeli forces. Yet, protesters refuse to back down.
Thank you, Nayara, for that report. The family of a Christian woman who faces execution for blasphemy in Pakistan hope the Supreme Court will free her. Aisha Bibi has been in death row since 2010. She was accused of blasphemy against the Prophet Muhammad in 2009 by a Muslim co-worker. The Supreme Court heard her last appeal and said it had reached a decision, but has not disclosed it yet.
Well, we are hopeful that whatever the court proceedings are, it will come out as positive for us. We are thankful to God that the court has fixed the hearing.
Nigerian troops have fought off an attempt by Boko Haram fighters who were trying to overrun a military base. The attack left several Boko Haram militants dead and many injured. According to a tweet by the Nigerian army, 6 soldiers sustained injuries and are receiving medical care. Boko Haram has recently increased attacks on military bases. Saudi Arabia is facing backlash from business and media elite over the disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Here's more on that and a look at today's other stories from around the world.
The founder of the Virgin Group, Richard Branson, is to suspend investment plans with Saudi Arabia over the disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Branson confirmed that Saudi Arabia's public investment fund was planning to invest $1 billion in the group's space projects. But since the alleged murder of Khashoggi in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey, Branson is the latest in a series of business leaders and media organizations to distance himself from the kingdom. Branson has also suspended his directorship in 2 tourism projects. A U.S. pastor who's been at the center of diplomatic row between Washington, D.C. and Ankara, Turkey, has flown home. Pastor Andrew Brunson was released after a court sentenced him to over 3 years in prison on terrorism charges, but said he did not have to serve jail time. He's been under house arrest in Turkey since July this year and was jailed 2 years ago. Brunson's lawyer confirmed that he will stay in Germany for 2 days before heading back to the States. The Turkish foreign minister has called on the U.S. to respect the guilty verdict.
We have always said that this issue cannot be resolved by sanctions or threats. Who can resolve this issue? The judiciary. He had a trial on October 12th. The evidence was assessed in court. Witnesses were heard. As a result, the court found him guilty, and if I remember correctly, he was sentenced to 3 years and a month in prison. Everybody must respect this.
Police in Poland used tear gas on counter-demonstrators targeting the First Equality Parade in the city of Lublin. The Gay Pride rally has been held in Warsaw for 17 years, and it's the first time it came to the eastern Polish city. They were met with firecrackers, stones, and abuse from nationalists and hooligans. The police also used water cannons to keep them at bay.
This week, Japan's newest fish market opened its doors. This after the world-famous Tsukiji site closed down, ending an 83-year-long era.
It's just before dawn. Huge frozen tunas are laying lined up on the ground. Suddenly, bells signal the start of the auction. The bewildered bidding of customers echoes through the halls of Toyosu Fish Market. This is the new home of the world's biggest fish market.
It might take some time to get used to. By listening to your voices saying how you don't know how to use it yet, together we would like to develop this as the core market of Tokyo and Japan and make the Toyosu brand better day by day.
An era came to an end when hundreds of businesses with nearly 2,600 forklifts relocated from the old site. Opened in 1935, Tsukiji once handled 480 kinds of seafood worth $40 million every day, along with 270 different types of fruit and vegetable. It was renowned not only for world-class seafood, but for the close relationship between fishmongers, fiercely exacting chefs, and sushi tycoons.
Here you think you're coming to buy fish, but in fact it's about human relations. And that's what determines everything. The respect is mutual, as are trust and admiration. You have to admire and you have to have love. They have to accept how I cook, and I need to accept what they supply.
Tsukiji's tuna auctions used to make headlines with eye-watering prices, including a world record of $1.8 million paid for a 222-kilogram bluefin in a New Year's auction in 2013. The market also lured flocks of tourists from around the world, often lining up for hours the night before just to get one of the 120 spots in the tuna auctions.
It still hasn't really hit me, but I feel increasingly sad as the day approaches, and also worried. And after this anxiety, I also feel angry, as I wonder who this move is for and why it is necessary.
Critics and even many fishmongers said the facility was out of date, no longer fit for modern-day hygiene and fire safety standards. But most of the sellers would have preferred the iconic market to be renovated instead of moving to the new site. Nearly twice as big as the old one, Toyosu boasts state-of-the-art refrigeration facilities. However, many vendors are concerned, as it previously housed a gas plant leading to soil and groundwater contamination issues. But after decades of negotiations, the local government paid hundreds of millions of dollars to clean up the new facility.
Well, I'm getting old, but thinking about the future, I think this will be a fun place for young people to work at. I think they'll be happier here. I wish I could be one of them.
80% of Skiji fish traders oppose the relocation, saying it's too far from the center. But others hope to create a new tradition out of the new site. The demolition of Skiji started on the same day that the first tuna was sold at the new market. It will make space for temporary parking for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics.
We come to the end of this news brief. This and many other stories you can find them on our website at telesurtv.net/English. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Jose Daniel Lopez. Thank you for watching.